to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 17, episode 19. This is reunion part 2, and this is the uncensored and extended version. So this is the Peacock version. As for those who are new to my channel, I do not have Bravo. I only have Peacock, so that's always the version you'll get from me. So yeah, there's that. Which is always also the reason why my reviews are always usually a day or so later, because I'm watching it on Peacock and not watching it. I never watch a live version of the show. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the reunion part 2. It was really, how do I grade this? We finally got into some things. So I did enjoy this, but I did not enjoy the over talking, and I am getting slightly tired of Angela over speaking. Shamia finally showed up, but I find it odd that she only pipes up really when it's about her, or somewhat indirectly about her. First part, probably until after the break, I will say this. So maybe she talked to Kelly during the break or whatever. She only was piping in when there was stuff impacting her. Now she's back to inserting herself more with Kelly, and that kind of happened towards the end. But we'll get into that. So we start off the episode where Cynthia joins us. Like, hey, Cynthia, hello. And we basically we go into a little bit of what she missed. And Andy, wrapped up in a bow, was like, yeah, Kate Michelle's gay. He's pregnant. Portia's divorce is final. Or no, it was Drew's divorce is final. And we also left the last bit where we were still talking about what is causing the issue between Kate Michelle and Shamia, which is still currently happening. And I will say this was a little bit difficult to follow, because one thing I am starting to see a pattern, Shamia's a liar. Is Kate Michelle the most trusted source? No. But there's a pattern with Shamia where she lies and she misremembers what people say and she twists it. Shamia triggers me because she reminds me of someone who, I'm about to be fully transparent, and I don't care if they see this. I don't know if I'm still cool with them or not. And I don't know if there is a future where we will be. Because I see very similar manipulative characteristics. I'm just going to say it. And lack of boundaries. I will say that. And I feel like the lack of boundaries situation is a huge, not to put y'all all out there, a lot of unevolved Taurus are like that, where the boundaries is only applicable for them and not the other side, if that makes sense. So I was kind of triggered a little bit, maybe because of what happened over the weekend a little bit, but I was just kind of like, But so basically we find out, which was confirmed, we already knew this, there was definitely an alliance that was happening, that Shamia was forcing to happen, and she was continuously trying to make to happen. And Shamia started this crap last season, and she won't let it go, and she continues to try to make these alliances a thing, and teams a thing. She really thinks that this works, and it doesn't. It actually makes the show not watchable, and it's not cool. As us as an audience do not like to see a cast divided. It's not a good thing. But she keeps trying to thrust this, and really Shamia is the problem. Shamia's a problem. And so Shamia is wanting this constant, blindly loyalty towards her on the show from K. Michelle. And K. Michelle made it clear that this is what you want. And then Shamia kept trying to rebut and saying that's not what it was. But then her response basically stated that's what it was. So I don't think K. Michelle was lying at all. I don't. And then Shamia claims that K. Michelle threatened to beat her up. And I don't believe that. I believe Shamia is playing a victim yet again. I think because we've seen K. Michelle in Love and Hip Hop throughout the years, she's never threatened to do this. This is not her way of doing things. She will shake a table, she'll throw something, but like that version of her throwing something and stuff like that, that has not been K. Michelle for a very long time. So I don't believe that. And also too, K. Michelle's quick with her words. She doesn't have to do all that. And, you know, Shamia's an easy read, so it's not that hard. And also too, I noticed when Shamia was accusing K. Michelle doing all these things and she asked for Kelly to co-sign it, Kelly didn't co-sign it. Kelly kept her mouth shut. And throughout this whole entire back and forth between Shamia and Kelly tried to keep it. This is the most quiet Kelly was. This whole entire reunion was this little bit between them two. And then she was asked like, hey, why you were there? Because apparently all this happened off camera and it happened like a week before the reunion aired. And so this would cause a blowout. And Shamia just takes no accountability. That has been her problem this whole entire time. And she still doesn't understand that that is her problem and why people do not like her on the show. She takes no accountability. And it continued, really, for part 2. I feel like with everyone else on this cast, everyone takes accountability. She does not. And it's just exhausting to watch. Yeah. She's exhausting. I find her exhausting. Similar to... not shading, but I'm saying facts. But yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that alone. But yeah, so Kelly was asked, since you were in the middle, what happened? She's like, yeah, they said. Kelly then proceeds to insert the other couch into this. She's like, you know, I really wish you guys would come together and stop listening to the noise on the other couch over there. And then, of course, that causes the other couch to make all the noise because they're just like, shut up, da-da-da-da-da. Because, you know, Kelly's an easy read and they're just going off on her. And Kelly's like, I'm so sick of y'all, da-da-da-da-da. And then she's just being loud and wrong. She's like, none of y'all have ever had brick and mortar. As for Cynthia even proceeds to start naming her brick and mortar. She's like, let's see, I have this. And Paige was like, girl, I know you lying. Like, all of them were just like, it was everyone else on that couch versus Kelly. And then Andy was like, okay, Kelly, I wanted you to actually just talk between the two of them and not bring the others into this because clearly this is between them two. And K. Michelle even confirms, like, it literally has nothing to do with what anyone else is saying. It has to do with my interactions with you, Shamia. You are very manipulative. And even K. Michelle, and even when Portia broke it down, and I'm like, oh, so that's the side, Shamia, we're seeing now because it's getting exposed. But that might be also why Portia don't really mess with her like that anymore either. She has a very manipulative streak about her. And a people pleaser, that's the thing with people who are people pleasers though. They think they're so, and they don't see it though because they're trying so hard to be a people pleaser. They don't see that sometimes the way of them trying to be friends towards everyone comes off extremely manipulative because in this world, you can't be friends with everyone. That's just what it is. Unless you're manipulating someone or something. It doesn't like, and in the K. Michelle case, we knew they were not going to last because K. Michelle does not like her actual friends in real life. So how was this going to work? The answer is we saw it. It wasn't going to work. Because Shamea was literally using her being kind to K. Michelle as a bargaining chip, which is extremely manipulative. And you know what? I'm just going to say why I got to say it. And I don't care. Someone I was talking to recently, you know what? I'm going to make it where it's not as obvious. It's equivalent to, and actually this is applicable for Shamea. I feel like Shamea throughout the years of being on this show used her historical friendship towards Portia as a bargaining chip. And that's something I do not mess with. I don't care how long I've known someone. You still need to prove your worth towards me, and I need to prove my worth towards you on the regular. Like, I'm not a wildflower where once you plant me and I'm established, I'll just grow. I'm an orchid. Okay? You need to constantly work with me to make sure I continue to grow. Okay? And I mean that like in a way of a friendship. And it has to be both, it has to go both ways. And I think Portia's not a great friend, but I can see her being easy to get along with. If you don't, I can see her being pretty easy to get along with, really. I honestly, between Shamea and Portia, I would easily rather hang out with Portia. But I'll say this also, Cancer women are like my favorite, like they're the friends who I've always been cool with throughout my life. I still have Cancer friends and women who I'll call them. It may have been 10, 15 years since last time we talked. We pick up where we leave off and we just kiki. And we're not even talking about the past. We're moving forward, just talking about how you've been, how's life been. And it's still just a kiki. Whereas when you just have a historical friendship, it doesn't really go that way. And also, too, how strong was the foundation of the original friendship? And I think with Portia and Shamea, we see that. It's weird that I see a parallel, but I'm starting to really see a parallel with it, but neither here nor there. Back to the show. I digress big time. What was I gonna say? Yeah, basically to me, long story less long, even though K. Michelle at times seems like she's kind of crazy, I see why K. Michelle felt triggered by Shamea, because Shamea does lie. And throughout this whole entire second half of the reunion, or part 2 of the reunion, she got caught in lies constantly. And the fact that Shamea, because she talks so much, she won't even be knowing what she's talking about. She just be talking just to talk. And she'd be talking in circles to the point where she don't even catch it. She lied because she talks too much. It's wild. Anyway, next. So, long story less long, K. Michelle and Shamea, they're not going to be cool. K. Michelle basically said, hey, I can be cordial towards her, but we're never going to be close because she can't be trusted. And Shamea's like, the feeling's mutual. It's just like, you want unyielding loyalty and to not be called out when you're wrong. And you be wrong. Like, a lot. I mean, hell, even the first segment of the reunion, like, I don't understand where Shamea's head is and how she doesn't see that she misinterprets things constantly on this show. She's been doing it since last season. It's like a thing of hers where she misinterprets what people say and she puts her own conclusion to it, which that happened to me over the weekend, and I was like, am I in the Twilight Zone? What the hell is this? And if anyone knows me, I hate when people put words in my mouth. That is one way to set me all the way off, which happened. which I don't like them like that, and it takes a lot to really make me upset, but yeah. Anyway, when's the last time I've been upset? And it wasn't because of like a death or anything that was actual like importance. Last year, but that was important, so it really wasn't the same type of deal. Um 2021 maybe? Where I've gotten into a blowout argument with something. No, I lied. Um, oh crap. It's been like 3, 4 years ago. I don't put myself in situations where I get upset easily. I'm learning that. Well, that's good. I was like, wait a minute, have I gotten really mad where I just like really didn't want to talk to someone anymore? No, it's been that long. Wow. Um, anyway, 4 years. Okay. So what else is going on here? But yeah, I guess the conclusion is, Shamia kind of got exposed. In my opinion, when it comes to this whole thing. And yeah. So next we get into Cynthia and her relationship with LaPrince and how well that's doing. And then that's how we found out. That's how the song came about. And we heard the song a couple times, like in the background of some of the scenes. And it was like the mid-season trailer song. It is Cynthia's song, Peach Life. I'm just like, what? And they played it. I was like, and they were just getting into like, because it's like definitely like a house song or a dance song. I would say it's like kind of it's not really house. I would call it EDM. It's definitely EDM. I don't think it's a genre of house for me, because Chicago house has soul to it. It didn't have soul to it. It's definitely more of an EDM dance song though. I'll just say that. And it was cute. It was a little boppy bop. And it was a nice break from the tension. But then we get back into it. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is also the part when Shamia and K. Michelle were going back and forth. K. Michelle also exposed that Shamia's mom be talking about Portia and be calling her a Jezebel. And everyone's like, ooh, who said that? And they're like, yeah, like they were saying that about Portia. And then that got Portia and Shamia going back and forth and started talking about each other's mamas and stuff. And it just really made Shamia look bad. And it also made us realize, oh, you're just like your mom. But we knew that. I feel like in the cases of the mom saga, they're like each other's moms, but like, again, I'd rather hang out with Miss Diane than Shamia's mama. That's just my personal opinion. And because, I don't know, I just, I'll say this, once the moms get brought into it, it's really hard for me to really review it and stuff, just because it's like, we don't know the history of the mamas, and so Andy was like, can we stop talking about the mamas? And they both stopped talking about the mamas. And that's kind of what stopped the argument between Portia and Shamia, because they were kind of going there. But it does add to the point where Shamia's plot is Portia. What does Shamia have going on outside of her obsession with Portia? Because to me, that's all she has. And unfortunately, the other women made Shamia more relevant, like an Angela, but we get into that a little bit later on in the segment. But yeah, I mean, in this part 2. But outside of that, Shamia just would have been an afterthought if it wasn't for that. But anyway, so then after the song, we get into Pinky's segment. And Pinky explains how bankruptcy is a tool. And I will say this, when it comes to the Pinky situation and bankruptcy, I see her side of it when she's talking about bankruptcy, but then for Phaedra pops up and she's like, I don't like how you're saying that though. Because, and I actually agree with Phaedra too. But it's two philosophies and both of them are right to a certain degree. So, and when they were talking about it, it wasn't just Pinky versus Phaedra. Angela chimed in a little bit, and also Cynthia. With Pinky, though, what I will say, which was kind of interesting for this part too, with the back and forth, Pinky was on 10 a little bit. I just really wish she could have simmered down. I don't know if it was just like she was just emotional or what was that about, but it was kind of weird because I noticed when Phaedra, Angela, and Cynthia chimed in about their opinion on it, it wasn't in a judgmental way, and it wasn't in a way where they were yelling or confrontational, but that was the energy that that Pinky was putting out there. It was kind of similar to like how she was in Dallas. That was kind of the energy that Pinky had when it came to this whole situation. She was extremely defensive when it comes to bankruptcy of it all. And I get it because it's a really sensitive subject, but then we also hear, because K. Michelle does chime in, she's like, I know that, you know, Pinky's putting on a brave face and saying what she says on the show and everything, but that's not how she really feels about it. Like, K. Michelle pretty much said it without saying it, because what was losing us at the beginning when it came to the bankruptcy of it all is she did come across really braggadocious about it. So it was like kind of hypocritical. And I love the explanation that Angela provided. She's like, but in business, when you file bankruptcy, because when you lose, you don't just lose your money, you lose the investor's money. So you're basically not paying the investors back when you decide to file for bankruptcy, which also could put them in a pinch, and it could be a downstream of impact. And I guess I never thought of it that way, just because I'm not familiar with major major franchises like this, because she's becoming a major franchise. But I think what would benefited Pinky is explaining that she expanded too quickly and but she did at least say, I trusted the wrong people. It wasn't really me that was handling this. It was other people that was handling this. And I decided to do the part, like, I'm the face of really having to do the bankruptcy, but really, if I was to air out all the people who did wrong by me, that wouldn't have had to happen. I think that's really what she was trying to say, but she was like, I didn't want to do all that and have us just on a giant legal battle forever, airing out all the people who I trusted wrongly and messed up my stuff. And you notice she never said who did wrong by her, but if you looked at like some of the news stuff that came out throughout the time on the show, there were people who were called out. It really wasn't her personally that was doing all these bad decisions, business decisions that messed up the investors. She just, unfortunately, is the face. Kind of similar to like, there could be a Bravo executive that does something really messed up, but like, Andy would be the face of it. So I feel like that's kind of what Pinky was trying to say, but I don't know why she didn't just say that. Like, I think she was too eager and too in the defense to really explain herself clearly with that. So that's kind of how I interpret it. And Phaedra, though, she was just like, I just wish you would just been more vulnerable about it. I feel like what the other side of the couch was trying to explain to her is like, it just would have been nice if you would have been more vulnerable. But I think that's Pinky's, like, she's not good at that. Okay? That's part of what it is. She's not really good at being vulnerable. Her just even sharing her story for her was vulnerable enough. But I think if she took the extra mile of kind of just breaking things down, because I think what their versions of vulnerability are not the same. What Pinky thinks they're trying to tell her is like she should be boohooing, being sad and all that, and that's not really what it was. And Kelly also chimed in too. She's like, I'm glad that she actually shared her story when it comes to bankruptcy. And the thing is, but the other side of the couch is saying, that's not what we're saying. We're glad you did too. But I also wish you wouldn't make such light of it, because it really should be a last resort. But at the same time, Pinky called out another thing. In white corporate America culture, they do it all. They do it all the time. And it's actually rewarded. So both sides have points, but I will lean a little bit more towards Phaedra and her, what she had to say there. So then the other thing, we get into the Meatgate. So Meatgate, Pinky, they get to the bottom of it, and Kelly apologizes to Pinky. And I'm just like, why did we wait till the reunion to apologize? But neither here nor there. Shamia apologized also to Phaedra because, once again, Shamia brought back a message wrong, because that's what she always does. She does not know how to relay it. Like, she is the definition of telephone gone horribly wrong. Don't ever take what Shamia says that someone else said to you ever, because she interprets it her own way and runs with it. And it just causes chaos and confusion. Okay? And so then from there, Phaedra chimes in. She's like, I'm glad I got an apology from you, Shamia, but I didn't get an apology from Pinky. Come to find out, Pinky is holding on to something else that happened allegedly behind the scenes, where apparently Phaedra threatened to call the higher ups on Pinky. And Phaedra's like, are we going to explain why? And Pinky's like, yeah, I had a device on me, but like still, I'm like, oh. We never figure out what this device was, but it seems like they talked it out and they really ironed it out. And Pinky was like, I really don't have an issue with you. And Andy did chime in. She's like, of all the years of working with Phaedra, if she really wanted to report this to her higher up, she would have did it. I didn't know anything about this like that. And she didn't do that. And so with Pinky getting that reassurance that really didn't happen like that, they pretty much squashed it. And even, Pinky was like, if it's not that serious, then I'm going to move past it. And she's like, one thing about me, I don't hold on to things. I move past it fairly quickly. And Phaedra's like, yeah, I appreciate that. And even, and then Angela came back. She's like, yeah, that's one thing we love about you. You just keep it pushing. Like, we love you, Pinky. And so everything's all good with Pinky and Angela and Phaedra. So, non-issue. Okay? They talked it out. They squabbled it out. And now they're good. And I'm just like, love it. From there, we talk about, I think, who asked the question? Some viewer asked a question about the husband situation. Why, if he has access, why is he not helping you with the bankruptcy? And Pinky's like, I don't really want him to do it. Like, it's my personal debt. It all is my personal debt. That's outside of him, so he has nothing to do with it. So therefore, no. And creditors are personally going after me. It's not marital assets. And so I get that, but I don't know. That the answer kind of landed flat for me. I think I'm going to rewatch the reunion to see if maybe I get a second opinion, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, so then from there, we talk about Edgewood. I think one of the viewers is like really happy to see that you're going to be working with Notori. And we find out that she is in the process of getting a deal by a network so we can start seeing this project, which is great. And then from there, we go into the casting call situation where Drew basically broke it down. And she wasn't breaking it down in a way where it came off snobby or anything. She literally broke down why, she wasn't going to do it, because she's like, well, you gave me this at the last minute. So yeah. Yeah, she was like, you gave me the information on the thing at the last minute, and at the end of the day, you have to go through proper channels for me to be part of your project, because I'm part of a union. And you not going through the proper channels will impact me being part of the union. And I was like, oh. So I really wish we would have gotten that on the show, because I would have squashed that whole thing with her and like Pinky so quickly. And Pinky understood it too. And so really, Pinky doesn't have any issues with nobody on this cast, for real. She was just like, okay, yeah. And she's like, and at the end of the day, and she was like, and like, I didn't like how you called it a cattle call. She's like, that actually is what it's called in acting terms. And then before she, replied back, Angela's like, well, you literally called me a cattle. Pinky apologized for that. She's like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. And because we rolled the beam footage, and Drew was like, don't do that. That's my girl. Like, don't do that. And so we kind of patched that up. And then from there we get into the lesbianas about Pinky being a carpet muncher. And she's like, yeah, I couldn't do it anymore because she was clingy. Like, it was good for a good 3 weeks, and then things got clingy, and she had the U-Haul ready, and it was just like, I couldn't do it. And Portia was like, I'm the U-Haul girly. I am the cleaning one. So I bring the U-Haul in, and it's that. She's like, I'm a U-Haul kind of lesbo. I was like, I love it. And then from there, they go on a brief break. And then in this brief break, we find out that Portia, because Portia's talking to Drew, and she's like, I'm just getting so sick of, like, Kelly chiming in about this, that, and this. And basically, Portia says she took a lie detector test, and she's waiting for the results, and she's going to have the results ready come, when they get back on stage. And Drew's like, all right. And then from there, they do get back on stage. And this next segment, I'm going to call this the Married Men segment. Because I was just like, what in the hell? What in the hell? A Married Men segment? Oh, gosh. So then basically, yeah, the Married Men segment of, basically all the different times throughout this season that the women have accused each other of sleeping with a married man. From Portia and Kelly to Shamia and Angela. It was a lot. So then from there, the George thing comes up, and Shamia versus Angela happens again. And both of them, they're arguing semantics a little bit. And the thing that's interesting, when Shamia and Angela argue, they're both manipulative. It's just one is better at doing it than the other. Clearly Angela's better at it. But Angela stands on business. She doesn't back down. She's like, look, I went by what was said and made my own interpretation. That's literally what Angela has been saying the whole entire time. Yet Shamia does that for everything, but doesn't tell people that. She says it as if it's gospel. And so basically Shamia is accusing Angela of doing what she does, and that's not what happens. So that's why it doesn't land when Shamia does it versus when Angela does it. The only thing that was annoying this whole entire season was, why is Angela going after Shamia so hard? We find out finally. I was like, oh. Angela was hurt because out of everyone on the cast, she really tried super hard to be friends with Shamia. Only for Shamia to do what she did last season and basically talk crap about her husband. But to Shamia's point, because Shamia calls it out in the reunion, and we're all kind of thinking the same thing, you literally said in your confessional in the beginning of the season you don't care what people say about your husband. But yet you do it again. But, like, clearly you do. It is clearly a problem. And then Angela has made a point this whole entire time this season. She's like, I've never talked about your husband, but you constantly do it to me. And it's not really okay. And so we saw this unseen footage of Shamia calling Angela messy and basically blaming Angela for the demise of her and Portia's friendship. Because Shamia, yet again, does not know how to take accountability. Because at the end of the day, Angela would have not been able to do that if it wasn't for you not just telling Portia how you feel and talking behind her back, like you still are doing, clearly. You don't know how to keep other people's name out your mouth and you do all these digs, and it's just, it's annoying. It's annoying. So we kind of find out that's what it is. And also, from there, it goes from Shamia versus Angela to Angela versus Kelly, because Kelly keeps chiming in, and and Angela's like, shut up. Oh my gosh, Kelly was doing that a lot, and she was just doing the most, and it was just like, oh my gosh, shut up. And from there, we do get a viewer question from Pinky, and Pinky asks Angela if she actually forgave Portia after the husband comment. And Angela explains yes. But, because the question also included, but yet you shaded her in confessionals constantly. And Angela's like, yeah, I'm going to get my lick in. I'm going to say how I feel. That's never going to change. But at the same time, do I have a real issue with Portia anymore? No, I don't. But I am going to say some slick things in my confessional. That's what it's for. I love how Angela's like, I'm literally just doing my job and doing it well. And y'all mad. Like, that's how I interpret it. I ain't going to hold you. But like, she's like, yeah, no, I'm going to say what I say. But really, do I have a problem with Portia? No. Because you want to know the difference is? Portia actually apologized and hasn't mentioned my husband since. She's left it alone. She actually not only apologized, her actions matched her apology. There was a change in action. Versus with Shamia constantly does these empty apologies, but continues doing the same action she was doing before. And also we find out in this segment, Shamia never actually apologized. And I was like, you're right, she never did. And then even when she finally tried to apologize during this reunion, she still didn't really apologize for the actions that caused their demise in friendship. So Angela's like, I forgive it. And the reason why I think Angela forgave it, because she knows she's not going to ever get a real apology from Shamia. Because Shamia is not capable of doing it. Because in order for her to be capable of giving a genuine apology, she has to be accountable. And Shamia does not know what accountability is at all. So then from there, Shamia asks a question about herself. Self-absorbed. The unevolved ones are all kind of like this to me. Baby. Self-absorbed. But yeah, we actually saw old footage. Before I get into that, Angela and Shamia, we see that they actually were hanging out and stuff like that before things went left. And also, too, Angela was caught off guard about how they weren't cool based off of what Shamia did on the show this season. And that's kind of what started the whole entire issue between her and Shamia. Because she thought out of everyone, she was closest to Shamia. So I was like, oh, well, that will do it. But if you notice, that's a pattern with Shamia. That's a pattern. It's a whole entire pattern. But anyway, Shamia asked about asked if she was trying to get herself fired from the Hawks, the NBA or whatever. And Angela's like, no, I wasn't, but a liable source told me of your actions. And then they get into the cease and desist, and Angela's just kind of like, well, I mean, Angela ate Shamia up. I'm just going to be very direct. Angela ate Shamia up when it came to this whole thing, but she's just kind of like, look. Oh, sorry, before that, let me go back to Angela and Kelly. Kelly was going back and forth with the husbands because Angela's like, if you get a husband, then we could talk. And then Kelly's like, I had a husband for 11 years, da 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 da. She said, I didn't have to get pregnant to get my husband. And it's probably one of the only reads that Kelly had that stuck. I was like, oh damn. Like, even had Angela taken it back right there for a second. And then Angela, I forgot what else she said, but like, does Kelly know something we don't? I'm just saying. Anyway, so back to the Angela, Shamia, and the Hawks thing. She basically stated that so Angela ends up apologizing, but she did that apology, but. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with it because Shamia didn't really apologize either. Let's be so for real. She did, but not really. Because... But Angela was like, a liable source told me what was going on. And she mentioned Dominique Wilkins. I'm like, wait a minute. The thing is, that went over probably a lot of y'all heads who watch Housewives because y'all are not NBA fans. I know who Dominique Wilkins is. So I was kind of just like, wait a minute. So I need to go back and watch to see what she meant by that. But did Dominique Wilkins tell her that? Or did someone who knows Dominique Wilkins tell her that? I have questions. But according to Angela, it seems like there might be truth in it because her source told her that. And yeah. So, but Shamia is just kind of like, you try to like, she's like, Angela keeps trying to argue that her bringing this to TV was not the cause of the investigation. And honestly, I don't think it was either because the investigation started before the show aired. So clearly there must have been some truth in the rumors. Just saying. Anyway, next. These videos be getting longer and longer. So then they got Shamia and Angela still were going back and forth. It's something about Angela's argument about like, it being brought to TV doesn't mean anything. So, but then like, she was like, well, you said I look like LaToya, but I ain't getting no royalties for that. That's what Angela said in return. And the reason why I brought this up, LaToya Jackson, and the reason why I brought this up, because Pinky was like, she kind of does look like LaToya Jackson. And Pinky said that like kind of out loud, but then what cracked me up is that Pinky just starts laughing. And then I start doing it too, because then after that, I couldn't unsee it. I was like, wait, are you a Jackson? I was like, Pinky, you are not right. But then from here, somehow it started becoming Porsha versus Kelly again with the husband situation. And basically, Porsha's like, we're going to name the names. And she also brought out the lie detector test results. And long story long, she passed all of it. And that kind of landed flat. I didn't care about that. But basically, Porsha and Kelly are going back and forth about the husband situation. And we find out that from Kelly, that all these pastors started going to her DMs, or people started putting all these pastors in her DMs because of what Porsha said on the show. So that's kind of what really bothered Porsha. What bothered Kelly. And Porsha's just like, and Kelly, of course, now has beef with Phaedra because apparently the alleged husband is one of Portia's, not Portia's, but Phaedra's client. And so she's like, well, I was one of your clients too, and you wouldn't clear it up. You didn't even give me a heads up of who was saying it. And Phaedra's like, well, I can't tell you that because he's my client. And so they're going back and forth about all that. And Kelly's like, I feel like as, a mentor, not a mentor, but like as a big sis, you would have told me or gave me a heads up of what that was, but instead you just ran with the narrative. And Phaedra didn't really run with the narrative, but she really didn't stop the narrative either. She kind of was just indifferent. So this just basically spiraled to like Kelly versus Portia yet again. And I'm starting to believe Portia. Is that bad? I'm starting to believe there might have been some truth to it. Because at first, because another revelation we find out is that Portia and Kelly dated the same dude too. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm laughing while I was watching this a little extra hard too, because one point in time during the pandemic, I was thinking about maybe I could relocate somewhere else, because I was thinking about doing prior to this getting worse, with the second term of the man, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll do the reverse southern migration and move back south. Even though I never lived south, but my people are from south. And I was thinking about moving to Atlanta. So when I visited Atlanta, that was actually one of the things I was considering. At the time, I was dating someone, so I really wasn't considering it that hard, but I was considering the idea of like, what would that look like long term? Like if that wasn't to work out, was a dating pool like in Atlanta? And I'm so glad. Based off this show alone, this is telling me everything I need to know. Because Atlanta's like, it's a big small town. So, yeah. I don't want to be sharing everyone's, like, it seems like a cesspool of just sharing everybody's stuff. So I'm cool. I'm good at that. If it's not true, those who are from that area who follow my channel or even watch this video, if that's not true, let me know. But from this show, that's what I'm getting. And I'm just kind of like, never mind. But it basically ended where Portia and Kelly are still going back and forth. And Andy was like, well, where do we leave things at? And Portia's like, to hell. And Kelly's like, I'm willing to go. And they're like, and then like Phaedra's like, it's hot there. And he's like, that's where we're going, I guess. That's where Portia. And that's where we leave things. But that was the Real Housewives reunion part 2. Let me know what you think. I might miss some things because I literally did the review right after I got done watching it. And so it's just kind of memory. And I jotted notes, but they really weren't the best notes. I'm going to hold you. So that's why I kept remembering things as I was talking through it. But anyway, that does conclude this review. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. I will see you next time. Bye.